Parents' concerns are actually very similar. So sometimes parents feel that they're alone in this, but this pandemic hit everybody by surprise. So even what I tell you today, it's not set in stone. And I firmly believe that you as parents, you know what is best for your child. So if something I say does not resonate, please by all means ignore it and then do what you feel is better. So I'm going to go fast through some of the questions and I will linger a bit on many of the major questions that you asked. So first, curriculum and school concerns. Everything here is a direct quote. Sometimes we merge the quotes. As I said, parents' issues and concerns are very the same. So honestly, before the pandemic, I actually doubt that any school actually finished the whole thing. Highly, highly doubt. So if before the pandemic, many of the topics are not really taken in depth, most teachers will tell me the last few topics, they actually just do it very, very quickly. So I don't consider that taking up a topic. So if it could not have been done before the pandemic, with the restrictions we have now, can we cover the required curriculum? No, I doubt it. So I've told this to schools. I've told schools, do not tell parents that you can cover everything. And parents, I think it's unrealistic. What do we do? The schools I've talked to, I would tell the admin and the faculty, please just focus on the essentials. So I've told schools, you will have to focus on what is so essential, the non-negotiables, we call it. And I do that in my class. So yesterday when I was teaching mathematics, I actually would tell the students, before the pandemic, we used to have 5 chapters. Now we only have 4. So it's one big chapter less. So does it mean there is a decline in the quality? For me, there is a decline in the quantity. But because we're doing 4 chapters rather than 5, I am hoping that the students will be able to go through the 4 chapters more in depth. I'm talking of college students, but this will hold for middle school and high school. Primary school is another matter. So I don't know. Is there a decline in the quality? I am still having high expectations of my students. So I tell my students, I expect you to work as hard as you did even before this, even if I cannot see you face to face. So is it possible? Can you value excellence and still achieve it? You bet you. In my class, I still value excellence. So yes, the answer is yes. Is it easy to do? No. Okay. But if you've been valuing excellence even before, I am certain you can still get excellence now, just done in a non-traditional way. Some parents have the energy, the resources, the time to actually sit down and do homeschool, and I salute them. Whatever reason they're doing it. Okay, this is a free country, and I think we should not keep on comparing what other parents do with what our own choices. But those parents are not the majority. Most parents, as you will see with your questions, most parents don't have the time. They say they'll work from home. Some parents cannot work from home. Many parents say, we're not teachers, how can we teach? So if you feel that you cannot provide the structure of homeschooling, then you have to enroll in your usual school. Or if you don't like your usual school, go to another school that you feel is better. If you do a gap year, what will your child do at home? Seriously. Children need structure. Just because there has been no school for months, you really want your kid to have no school for the entire year? One, structure is very, very important because that is how they will be able to form study habits. Study habits is not something you form overnight. Majority of your questions are on study habits. How can you even form any study habit if you have a gap year? So it doesn't make logical sense. Right now, the pandemic causes a lot of anxiety, primarily because things are so uncertain. So students, young people, need to have some routine in their lives. And if you take out schooling and you just let your kid be at home the entire year, that is not good, not just for academics. I don't even care about academics sometimes. It is not good for their mental and emotional health. It is not good for their social health. We sometimes make decisions because they're young. We don't think about what they think. Sometimes we make decisions only based on our convenience. But it has to be because they are our children. We have to think of them and also include them in decisions. So gap year, if your child really wants a gap year, and you will ask your child why. Why do you want a gap year? Because you don't want to study? That's not acceptable. You know that. And it gives your children something to do. So gap year, I'm sorry, for this particular case, unless you have a pressing reason, maybe not. Are there benefits to online over face-to-face? One thing in terms of kids' growth might be if kids start chatting online, which is what I was doing with my math class yesterday, the shy kids can speak up, which they might not be able to do in the traditional class. So that's one. Research has shown kids can participate, the shy ones can participate by going online, writing it down, rather than saying, raising their hands in class. That's one. It might be able to help the shy kids grow in terms of confidence. The other one could be because online learning, a big part of it is asynchronous. Asynchronous or asynchronous means it's not live. So I do not meet my class live every day. I meet them at certain intervals, but I give them lots of homework, which they accomplish online, or they email me, or they chat with their friends, and then I also comment online. In terms of kids' growth, it may make children more independent. It is not true that your kids are going to be online the whole day. And many of the online classes, the live classes, will be done by around noontime. So it's not true that they're going to be zombies staring at the computer. That's not true. Is there some growth? I am hoping, if there's anything positive that will come out of it, that all our children are going to be more independent after. I am hoping. Everyone, we cannot avoid stress, but we can learn to manage it. Too little stress is also not good. If your child hasn't been doing a thing for all these months, that's also not good. Too much stress, of course, we don't like it. People, fear is normal in the pandemic. If your child says, I'm afraid, that's normal. That is normal now. Okay? Please calm your children, and more important, calm yourselves. Parents, even if we are very worried and very scared, especially if you have young kids, please do not talk about how many people are dying in front of young kids. What you can talk about will be the safety measures, but don't scare them. Don't scare them, please. So, should I get the gadget for each child? It is up to you. But what is more important for me is not the gadget for each child. What's more important is if you have very young children, make sure that they know this certain gadget is just for school, which means if you're very worried and your kid won't listen to you, etc., and you have to lay down the law, maybe by 1 o'clock, 2 p.m., you tell the child, okay, school is done, I get the gadget back. What I'm very scared about is you buy a gadget for your child and you will tell everybody, I have to do it because the school forced me to do it, which is what's been happening before the pandemic. Then your child uses the gadget for a few hours for school and the rest of the day is for non-school. And that is the problem. So it is not so much the gadget, but the use of the gadget. We cannot rely on willpower alone. Okay, so you cannot say, pupupukin ko yung anak ko para mag-motivation. Imposible yan. Imposible. None of us are saints. So what do? You have to structure an environment to make motivation a habit. You cannot say, hey, I don't want to brush my teeth. I'm not motivated to brush my teeth. No, everybody brushes their teeth because that's what they do. It's a habit. So discuss a doable routine for all. Parents, it's all. You will need to have a family discussion. The adjective is sad. What made me sad when I looked at the questions was Majority of the questions are not pandemic related. They were issues you had before the pandemic. Distractions, indiscriminate gadget use, these are examples of some. There are so many questions like this, but this is watching NBA, recreation, checks other websites, implement. But look at how you phrase your question. So these are verbatim. How do we discipline my son? How do I get my son? How do we keep him focused? How can I effectively implement? How do I encourage them to exercise? Parents, this is not you. They should be able to self-regulate. They should be able to do this on your own. So this is not an external, ideally, not an external imposition. So it doesn't mean they're in front of the computer the whole day. Most of the time, they should not be in front of the computer. That's what we mean by online distance learning. Okay, so computer for important, teacher will discuss something important. Then teacher will give assignments. Then the assignments can be downloaded. Then the kids do it without the computer. They do it on their own. Discipline is not a bad word. Discipline means to teach and instruct the child. So if your child says you're strict, that's fine. If your child says, why are you disciplinarian? That's fine. That's totally fine. Because you love your children, you have the courage to teach them. That's basically it. Discipline is not punishment. Parents, when you're disciplining, you're not punishing. Punishment is different. You're not threatening. Please, parents, please do not humiliate. Please. Many of my students have mental health issues because of humiliation. Not the strictness, but the humiliation. Okay, discipline varies with age. This is almost like a side class. 1 to 7 years is the age of regulation. You have to make clear to the child what to do. Do not go out to the street. You have to clean up after yourself, etc. Very, very clear. Okay, so this is when you can impose. You will say, but what, I want to reason with my child. Yes, you can reason with your child. But if your child is 2.5 years old, I think you just have to tell him what's good. It's very difficult to reason with a 2.5-year-old. You can reason when they're older. You can reason with a smart 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old. But when you reason, you need to also get your way. 8 to 12 years, they have, you can't really tell them. This is when you negotiate. But parents, this is the age of imitation. This is when kids will say, but mommy, you're not doing that. Why are you not doing it? Why you tell us to do this? This is that age. Do not shut them up and do not yell at them. Do not say because we're adults and do not say this. You're just studying. We need the gadgets for our work. Do not ever say that. Okay. But your school day is just 2 to 3 hours long in terms of gadgets, your entire school day. And my boss, who also has to juggle his job, will sometimes have to meet me at 6 p.m. 13 years of teenager, no more. You have to inspire. You have to inspire them with your words, with your actions, with your demeanor. You have to communicate with them. How do you discipline? Logical consequences. You do not, please do not spank, do not slap, do not use physical force. Don't punish out of frustration, but make it a consequence. Logical consequences will not work if, so beware, okay? It takes courage to do this, but it's not very difficult. You're inconsistent. You're concerned about what others think. Talk too much and act too little. Communicate hostility. Do not reject the person. So do not attack their person. What do I do so that my 10-year-old will be inspired to do everything on her own? If she's 10 years old, I don't think you can expect her to do everything. But you can expect her to learn to be more independent in certain subjects. But there could be certain subjects she will have more difficulty with, maybe. Okay? So you can focus on those. Is it possible for kinder to grade 3 kids to learn on their own? On their own, totally on their own, harder to do. Is it possible? It's always possible. There always fails. But it's kinder for grade 3s when they need you to put the structure. So learning on their own, I would say grade 4 up, kinder to grade 3, you monitor them. It does not mean sitting beside them. We will talk about that later. Son is almost 9, self-sufficient. How can I'm very happy parents. Several of you said that you're helicopter parents. Many of us are. Okay? Does not make us bad parents, but we should try to contain that tendency. How can I sustain my child's focus? She melts within 20 minutes. She might, your child can focus because she does not melt if she does other activities. I'm very sure. So it possibly could be your communication with her. Maybe you are frustrated with her because she doesn't get the point at once. It could be. Or maybe you have underlying issues too. But most kids should not be melting within 20 minutes. And this is funny because they're different. My son wants me to be in the room in online class. This is the first time I've seen this. I want him to be independent, but I don't want him to feel I'm not there for him. Being there for him does not mean you have to be there all the time. It's actually nakakasakal to many kids. This one is the more common one. Kids are conscious when parents sit beside. How can I maintain a safe distance to watch that he's still listening without making him lambing to me? Okay. If you want him to be motivated to learn independently, and he is past grade 4, I think you should not be spying on him at all. Grade 1 to 3, kinder to 3, yes, you can maintain a safe distance. But you have to tell the child. You say, okay, you're going to study in this part of the room, but mommy will be here, mommy will be working, but mommy will sometimes also go over to you. How can I make online learning fun for my child? Online learning of anything is not fun. Part of growing up is to be able to learn something, even if it is complex, and not entertaining on the surface. And do not make your kid feel that every learning has to be fun, because the moment learning is no longer fun, he will get bored. And that is when the problem starts. Struggling with motivation. The forbidden word, according to Rose Fres Fausto, it is also in this book. So this book has 50 parents and students sharing. We cannot be the bad cop all the time. In the end, our kids have to do it themselves. It's a habit. How do we do it? Sige, isa-isa. Primary school, kinder to grade 3. Focus on the positive. Yung sinabi ko, enjoyable but not fun. What do you want? You want the kids to achieve a sense of competence. Uy, mahirap to, but I studied. And yes, I may not be on the honor roll. Who cares about honor roll? But I learned something, and it is me who did the assignment, not tutor and not mommy. That is what you want. Model the behavior. Support, but do not do the work. Let your kids' parents please. Every single school tells you. Discomfort, difficulty. We're not saying torture, just a bit of discomfort. Kung hindi nila kaya, tell them, okay, take a break and try again. That's it. So these are the tips for tutors. Get a dedicated tutor who can guide your child one-on-one, if you can. Check the tutor's qualifications. Instead of hiring professional tutors, look at your family and neighborhood. Parents are the best tutors, but grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins rank a close second. Some of the best tutors I know are college students who teach their nieces and nephews to earn extra allowance. Because they are related to the tutees, they genuinely care for them, and they go the extra mile. Another good source of tutors are the math club, the science club, history club of the nearest high school or university. Members of these clubs are very interested, of course, usually in that particular subject, and they can be good tutors. And give the tutor and your child a trial period. Sometimes both may rub each other the wrong way. Avoid signing up for monthly programs that require advance fees. Partner with your tutor. Once you have chosen a tutor, do not do the work for him. In our survey, Ateneo Parents says, we let our son finish the work he has started. It's good for him to finish without outside assistance. We want to teach him perseverance. A tutor is a guide and not an assignment machine. Set concrete goals for tutor and tutee. Instead of telling the tutor, I want my child to be on the honor roll, you say this: my son's science average is 75%. I hope you can work together towards 80% the next quarter. Instead of saying, talagang bobo yung anak ko sa math, bahala ka na sa kanya, you can say, since grade 1, my child has not been doing well in math. He's now in grade 6 and you're the 5th tutor we have. Can you examine the reasons for his poor performance and tell us how you can help? So you can do this, and very good tutors have done it, and they can be priceless. Become partners with your tutor. Do not relinquish your duty as a parent. So this is primary school. What about elementary school? This is about motivation and study habits. You can catch up. Elementary school, please talk to your child if he has issues. And then, based on what he tells you, you should decide how to help. Build children's self-worth, not by praise. This is very important. So there's this psychologist called Carol Dweck in Columbia University. And even in the 1990s, she found out that there are actually ways of doing praise with kids. She said she studied the effect. So they have two groups of kids who were asked to do puzzles. One group was told afterwards, you must be very smart. And the other group was told, you must have worked really hard. That was an easy puzzle. So most of them got it right. So they were told, you know, you did well in the first test, in the first puzzle. You can choose another easy puzzle, or you can choose a harder one. And this is harder, but you can learn. And the surprising finding is most of the children who were told that they were smart, they chose the easy test. So they didn't want the hard one. Whereas 90% of those who were complimented for effort chose the harder test. Why? When children are praised for being smart, they do not want to risk making mistakes to avoid being humiliated. But when they are praised for effort, they're willing to try harder the next time. There's still a third round. So Carol Dweck did a third test, which was difficult, really hard for everyone. Okay? So the third test, all the students did badly. So what happened here? Afterwards, they responded differently. So when everybody did badly, the kids who were told they were smart, they were miserable since failure was proof that they were not really smart at all. Those who were praised for effort decided they will focus harder the next time. So what does this mean? I'm not saying you should not praise. You praise, but you praise correctly. So yung kanina yung parent na nagsabi, my daughter is so smart, she's on the honor roll, rethink your praise. Say, I'm happy you're on the honor roll, I'm happy you're learning well, and I am so proud of your effort. They also found out students who are praised for smartness alone, okay, become very competitive and tear others down. Many resort to cheating. Why do they cheat? Because they cannot deal with failure. How about high school? Many of you in high school will say, paano na? High school, wala pa siyang ano. Is it too late? No, but it's harder. You have to understand what motivates your team. What will make your high school student study? There has to be something. You cannot say nothing because your teen is probably very good in sci-fi. Your teen is good in sports statistics. So there is something your teen likes. So you cannot say your teen has no motivation. You will just have to work with him to channel his motivation in the other things to his motivation in studies. And you have to discuss this. You cannot impose. Expose them, urge them. And this one I need to tell you. We have to cut teens some slack. We keep on saying, ano ba sila? Why are they so? Some parents say, you know, their kids have a strong mind. They cannot reason with them, etc. So the bad thing with teens, and all of us went through it because all of us were teens before. Yes, they're more impulsive. Yes, they make silly decisions. Yes, that's because the brain centers that are active are the ones in the hindbrain, the amygdala, the fear center, rather than the decision-making part. What I tell my students is, guys, you're going to commit lots of mistakes because sadly, you're still 19 years old, etc. I said, but beware, because you are more prone to impulsive behavior, because you're more prone to this, you have to watch out. So I said, many of you tell me you're doing alcohol, many of you tell me you're doing this. I said, just beware, know that you are going to be impulsive. So because you're being warned, you should take more care. Making sure she's not influenced by bad elements, communicate to her, tell her your fears, tell her this. What do you think we can do about it? Ask her for suggestions. So do not just impose the punishment. When your kid reaches grade 4, according to my son, start weaning him off your constant presence, because that's what I did. When he was grade 4, I practically left him on his own. By grade 6, nightly checkups would suffice. So our nightly checkup would be, he would come to kiss us goodnight. So in the 5 minutes, I would tell him, Scott, tell me in 5 minutes what you learned today. And he would just tell me everything. I said, okay, I know you know it. That's it. That's what I did. Sometimes I don't even know if what he's saying is correct. But I knew he was learning something. In high school, Let your teen do the work himself unless he asks for help. Faced with failure, disciplinary sanctions, humiliation from teachers and classmates, and the prospect of repeating a year, he will buckle down and force himself. Parents, kaya yan. Remember, we're talking of logical consequences. If your child does not study, he will flunk. That is a logical consequence. So, and he also says we will also be faced with distractions. Developing the power to say no to distractions is much more powerful than being sheltered. Parents, your questions to me a while ago, do we have separate rooms? We don't have enough house. You know, we cannot shelter them. This is the reality. You cannot build a bigger house at this time. Your kids are, tell your kid, this is what we have. And do not compare us to other people with multiple gadgets and a mansion. You have to tell them. And this is something all of us kids have to learn by ourselves, painfully if needed. We cannot bear that pain for them. And that is where, and I know we love them and we want to shelter them from pain. But this is pain that's important. This is not unnecessary pain. Yes, you study hard, but you also study smart. All of us know SMART goals. SMART. Lahat alam natin yan. So if you're cramming, you have to focus on what you don't know. Most students just want to focus on what they like, which is the total opposite. They have to focus on what they don't like. The ones they like, they're probably good at, so they don't have to focus as much. Multitasking is a bit worrisome because multitasking does not work. I have a hard time convincing my students of that. But again, there are quotes from experts about multitasking. I'm a working mom, I won't be home. It's unfair if there are parents at home coaching. What steps, cheating? Parents, we cannot stop anyone from cheating. So the fact that your child can pass the course without coaching from you is actually a good thing because your child will be more prepared for the higher level schooling than the other parents who are coaching their kids. So do not think it's unfair. How do we manage it while sacrificing our career? This is difficult. Parents, you have to make some sacrifices. All of us have to do it. So it's up to you. We are not teachers. Are we expected to teach kids? We are not going to teach rocket science. All of us can teach basic English, basic math, basic science. We enrolled them. We attended the town hall. We are supposed to teach them at home. That's the school's job. Parents, come on. You know this. You come on. You know learning is not just parent and school. I asked Father Ben yesterday what to tell you. He says, parents, please learn to reflect, pray, and quiet yourselves each day. We have very limited control. What we can control is ourselves and the way we respond. Be supportive and caring of your children. Missed lessons can always be made up. Your attitude will carry your children through challenges. Worry less about the subject matter. Be concerned more that your children feel supported and become motivated. He still wants your children to become motivated.